Good morning, everyone. For those of you who are new here, I'm Kelly Day, and today we're going to talk about, do you have enough talent to be a pro artist? And, if you've been looking around on the internet at a lot of art or maybe Pinterest and seeing different people's work, sometimes what can happen is we start to feel a little insecure about ourselves. So if that is happening to you, that you're looking at other people's art and it's making you feel a little insecure about yours, or maybe you haven't made very many good paintings in a while and it's starting to get your confidence down. Sometimes when you're looking at other people's art, you might be noticing, wow, they're really good with color. I don't feel like I have that ability. Or, gosh, look at their confident brush strokes. I wish that I had those kind of brush strokes. I don't have them. Maybe I'm not good enough. Another thing that can be happening to you is if you don't even know where to begin sometimes. You go up to your studio and you just have been in a little bit of a funk, and sometimes this can creep into our head and make us feel like we just don't have what it takes. So what can happen when you're not feeling that you have enough ability or you're feeling intimidated by other artists is that it really starts to affect your art. It's very detrimental. So it can do enough as to make you stop painting. It can affect your painting in that you might get going and get excited and then stop halfway through because those voices of doubt are going around in your head. And so it can really affect you when you're not feeling like you have enough ability. And this is something that happens to all of us. And in fact, with a lot of artists, we can feel like I've got it. I'm talented right after you make a great painting, and then you might not make a painting for a while and you start to doubt your ability again. So it can be a real roller coaster ride as an artist to feel like we have enough ability, and especially with all that art out there on the internet that we're looking at and seeing these amazing people and thinking, I just don't have what it takes. So if that's you, write it in the chat box. I'd love to hear, how's your mind frame right now? How are you feeling about your art? So what I'm here to tell you today is it's not that one person is born with more talent than somebody else. It's not about she has more of a God-given ability than I do. The winner in the art game is who is able to most authentically express themselves. So you should write that down if you have a pen and paper there. It's not about having the most talent. It's about being able to authentically express yourself, because you might have enough technical ability to draw the most beautiful landscape in the world, but if you can't express your unique voice, you aren't going to stand out to anybody. So a few examples of what I'm talking about is look at Picasso is a great example. In the beginning of the century, he was painting like everybody else. He was painting wonderfully, technically proficient, beautifully colored scenes from Europe and cafes and streets. And the thing is, he was painting like everybody else at the time. So yes, he was good and he was admired for his skill, but he wasn't the powerhouse that he became when he started authentically expressing himself. So it's not about how good of an illustrator you are. It's not about how good you are with color. It's about, can you put your best qualities, your worst qualities, the things you love, the things you hate, all these things that make you you onto canvas. Okay? So for example, Picasso's art, when he really started to flourish, his illustration was shit. He did not have great illustration. He did not focus with really rich color. He went through creating some amazingly different expressive phases with his cubism and his distorted bodies. If you look at Georgia O'Keeffe, she did not paint like everybody else. She was not the best at creating an amazing scene. Some of the things she was doing might even have been considered kind of unappealing at the time, these raw desert landscapes. But what she did, what she had, was she knew what she loved. She got in touch with who she was. She went out west, lived in a place she loved, and started expressing her love for the desert Southwest in her own authentic style, which was these very, as you probably know, exaggerated, big, bold shapes with very simple, bold colors. Okay? So she was not painting like everybody else. She was not painting like the masters. She was painting in her own authentic voice. Look at Basquiat, who I've mentioned before. If you watched my webinar, Basquiat is one of my favorite artists. Look him up when we get off the video here. He became very famous very fast. He did not know how to draw well at all. In fact, his paintings were scribbles, but he expressed what he felt so strongly by just being unafraid and going for it and making these crazy scribbles. He scribbled words and doodles all over with big, bold colors, and he was authentically expressing his heart. Okay? So when you see another artist with talent that you think has more talent than you, first of all, remember, compare equals despair. If you compare yourself with everybody else, it's going to shut you right down. And I do it too. I was just looking on Pinterest the other day thinking really bad things about myself because I love this other artist so much. And when you catch yourself, that's the sign to be like, I'm comparing. The goal is not to paint like this other brilliant artist. The goal is to get my ass into my studio, get the skills I need to keep growing and keep getting more and more in touch with yourself so that you know who you are and you bravely and unafraid, unabashedly put that on the canvas. Now, I know that's easier said than done. So what it takes is getting the skills you need to start expressing who you are. And once you do that, that is when your style is going to take off to the moon. So if this is something that's happening to you and you're getting stuck because those critical voices are telling you you're not talented enough, I'm here to tell you nobody is more talented than anybody else. We simply have different abilities. And when you start tapping into that, you are going to be making the kind of art that you were really put here to make. Okay? So if this is something that's happening to you, you're feeling like you're doubting your talent, some of the symptoms that might be happening are that you're having trouble getting going. Are you getting into your studio or are you surrounded by supplies and you're not using them? I talk to a lot of women who tell me that. And that comes down to not believing in your ability. There are some other reasons why that may be happening as well. Are you starting paintings and you can't get through them? You start them out, you flow, and then you just get stuck and hit a wall. If that's happening, it might be because you're not feeling good about yourself or you're afraid to see what comes out on the other side. And that's a really big reason that feeling like we don't have enough talent can stop us. Because we get that in their head that what if we make a crappy painting? That's a really scary thing to look at, and it actually stops a lot of women in their tracks from even creating. Just being afraid they're going to create a crappy painting. So I can tell you the only artists that make it in this world are the ones that are okay with making a lot of crappy paintings because you're going to make them. So if these things are happening to you and you know that you want to develop that muscle, that muscle of learning to express your authentic self. That's what talent is. That's what I'm here to tell you. That's what I work with women on, is opening them up to their greatest ability. We've all got it. It's just that some people haven't tapped into it. Some people don't have the skills. Some people are distracted by learning techniques and painting with the logical side of their brain. I'm happy for you if you can create a technically proficient forest. But there was one woman on Facebook today who painted a beautiful forest, and I believe she said, I wanted to stay looser and I got back into my old habit of being tight. That's a perfect example of someone who I can help, because once you develop those skills to learn to get out of those old habits and those old ruts of painting from your logical side and painting without really knowing how to express yourself and your unique attributes, you'll stay stuck in those tight technical paintings. And once you do that, once you break out of that is when you're really going to have a voice that shines, and when you're really going to start moving people with your art. People want to know who you are. You may think you don't have anything to offer, but you are going to provide some peace to people by sharing your authentic self. It's hard being a human. We're all in some sort of pain. We're all in some sort of struggle. And to see another person expressing their own life and their own visions and their own emotions is a relief to us viewers. We need your art. We want to see your art. So get out there and make it, and know that you have talent. Know that Susie Cusey does not have more talent than you. She's just figured out to do the stuff that we just talked about here. And keep posting your art. I love seeing you guys in here, and have a wonderful day. I'll talk with you soon.